here, one here, one here, here, here. So our motherboard is now attached to the standoffs in the bottom of the case. The next thing we need to do is connect our power from our Pi into the motherboard. If you look at all the various wires coming out of your power supply, you'll notice one very large one. This connector plugs into this plug right here. Now, it's keyed so that it can only go in one way. If I were to reverse this and try to put it, won't go. We just take our plug, connect it in like that, and we don't have to worry about it being backwards because it can't go backwards. Now, the next thing we need to do is to connect our front panel connectors to the motherboard. Now, you know that on the front of a PC you have all kinds of different things. You have the power switch, you have the reset switch, you have the power on light, we have the hard disk light. Well, all are connected to the motherboard in order for them to work. Now, if you look right down here, this set of switches right here are used to do just that. Now, most cases will have a series of wires such as this, and notice that these are all labeled. Since this green and white wire plug says power LED, and this plug says hard disk drive LED, and this connector says the power switch, and this connector is that switch. Well, these go on to a series of these pins in order to provide that given functionality. The hard part about this is knowing which set of pins do what. Now, find out, you check your motherboard documentation, and on some good motherboards it will actually label down here what pins do what. Now, I realize that you can't see this, and I can hardly read it myself, but on this motherboard it actually says where these different wires go. For instance, the speaker wire goes on a connect here, and don't worry about memorizing where these locations are because they'll be different on the system that you're going to use, that you end up purchasing. I checked and found that the power LED light connects right here. It says P LED right above this, so the prongs right there. The next hard disk LED, I checked the documentation and found that they go right here on that set of connectors. Next is the reset switch, which I found out go on that set of pins. And we have the power switch goes on this set of pins. Oops, on this set of pins. Now, I want to make you aware of before we move on, and this little secondary connector right here. Now, this is used for some Pentium 4 motherboards. This is an auxiliary power connector. This must be connected in addition to the big plug from the power supply that we plugged in earlier. This is a wire off from the power supply. What you need to do is check your motherboard documentation and see if it requires this extra power connector. If it does, you need to make sure you buy a power supply that's labeled Pentium 4 compatible. If it's labeled Pentium 4 compatible, it will have this extra plug that you can connect to the motherboard. Now, not all Pentium 4 motherboards require it. That's the funny thing. This particular Pentium 4 motherboard does not have a extra auxiliary power plug, hence we don't need it, so we'll just tuck it out of the road.